Morning everybody, welcome back to the channel. Me and Luna here, as you can see, back to the rain and the wind again. I honestly have given up on the weather at this stage. It doesn't really know whether it's in winter, spring or summer. We seem to be getting one day of each at the moment. But anyway, we're out nonetheless. Anyway, today I'm going to have a talk about signs that you need to change things in your life, some big signs. So, depression is one of the first things that can signal that there's real issues and that you're being asked to change certain things within your life. Because with depression, what tends to happen is your body and your mind start to withdraw the energy from all the things that you're doing that are not meaningful or not making you happy. A lot of people tend to miss this and look at depression in terms of maybe it's something hormonal, could be like they're thinking of it in terms of mental illness, and maybe they might go to the doctor and get medication or different things like this, or maybe go and see a therapist or something. Now, there is a place for medication if it's very severe and you need it to get through a certain phase. But what tends to happen in most cases is that if you've been overworking or you've been putting your energy into things that have been depleting it, family, relationships, but usually it's because those things you're overgiving and they're not giving you back the same return that you're putting out. But in the majority of cases, it's meaning that is the most important thing. Because in times where we love what we're doing and it brings us a lot of joy, you tend to find you just work and work on and it doesn't bother you in the slightest because you really enjoy it. But if you've been sort of burning the candle at both ends and it's not been giving you the fulfillment that you want from it, this can lead to depression. And depression is very much linked to, whoops, nearly fell there, slipped. It's very much linked to the loss of meaning and the loss of joy in our. So when we ask ourselves, what is happening in my life at the moment that is not bringing me meaning? It's not bringing me the fulfillment that I would like, that it's actually taking away from that, and something that I've been overlooking and not been looking into, that will bring on a depression. And a lot of the times what tend to happen is we miss the early signs, and it's only when it gets to a severe level where either we're exhausted, burnt out, depleted, is when we pay attention. And usually somewhere in the back of the mind, you've always been aware of it, but maybe you've tried to shrug it off, or maybe you've tried to bury it and hope, that things will change. But it's usually through periods of suffering and struggling and burnout, Luna's coming behind me, that tends to then lead to a depression. And what the depression is doing is it's asking you to look at the bigger questions and not to keep shrugging them away, to look inside and see what's going on within you. Now, the disappointments and the damages that we face every day in life are real. They're painful and they hurt. especially when we've been going through difficult periods over long periods of time. We all have it within us, built in us, to navigate these types of challenges. It's part of our natural being to be able to deal with this type of stuff and to push through it and get to the other side. But a lot of the time, through pop culture and the way our society is built up, they tend for you to go and look outside to find the answers, when all the answers that you need are right inside you. You just need to start to look. So the only way to get through depression is to go through it. Not to wish it away, not to bury it, not to ignore it, not to medicate it. It's actually to sit down with yourself and to go through the depression and come out the other side. You tend to find is depression and anxiety tend to go hand in hand. And when you are in a depressive state, it will trigger anxiety. And then that in return will trigger usually our earliest memories and our stories of what we believe about ourselves and about the world. And that is where you will find the answers. And although depression, depending on the severity of it, it can go from mild up to severe, depending on your situation. But realizing that depression is your body and your mind's natural way to withdraw you from the things that are not working and start to cut you off. And a lot of the time we look at this in a very bad way, because you think, oh, I'm getting isolated, I'm on my own, I'm having to deal with this. Instead of realizing your body is trying to tell you to stop, take time for you and you alone, and start to look at the things in your life that are not working. Your body and your mind is trying to bring you into a rest period so that you can do that. But sadly, more often than not, people either won't go into it, or they go into it and they get stuck in it for years because they don't do the work. And it's incredibly sad. And what your psyche is trying to do is to help you to find a way back to meaning, and trying to help you to find a way back to you being more truer to yourself, and to start to bring things back into your life that bring you joy and bring you meaning. We all have it inbuilt within us to want to have a knowing about what we're doing and where we're going and what makes us happy. Although each person's journey will be different, we all have that built within us. And how we feel about things in our life is the strongest marker to our happiness. And what happens a lot of the time is people bury it if they're unhappy, or they just push on, or they try to whitewash over it. But it never works, because ultimately it will lead to a depression at one point or another. And what we want to do is try to not let it get to that stage of burnout, where you're having to then go into a period of isolation for 6 months, 7 months, maybe a year, because it's gotten so bad. Definitely don't want you to stay in that. We want you to be able to go through it and come back out the other side again. When we become so overwhelmed by things that are not making us happy or that are not good for us, the mind and the body start to shut down. They start to withdraw energy from your body and your mind. And that is what starts to lead to the depression. It's actually an inbuilt safety mechanism, but people so often see it as a bad thing, but it's a trigger for change. And I went through some depressions in my life, thankfully not severe because I've caught the signs early. And any time I've went through a period of depression, it's because I needed change. Whether it was changing a job, changing a relationship, changing a partnership, or change in a new direction altogether. It was always during that period that my body and my mind was saying something is not working and you need to change it. And anytime I took a look, I found something. And then I worked through that and I came out the other side and the depression lifted. And if you have those signs, start to look within and see all the things in your life that are not bringing you meaning, not bringing you value. And at least if you start on that road to change, then you will start to see the depression start to lift. But if you continue on that road, it won't get better. And it doesn't matter how much you medicate it, you know, doesn't matter how many psychiatrists you see, until you look inside and bring back the joy, bring back meaning to your life, then you will see the depression. You will see it lift and you will see it change. And then you will start to naturally come back into the flow of life again. And what you're wanting to do is to restore that sense of your inner self, connect back to it. We all have an inner compass that's always trying to guide us back there. Depression is one of these things. And it's better because if you don't listen, you're going to be adrift out there and at the mercy of the world around you. So the more you look at it, the more you can bring what has value and meaning into your life and start to move into that direction, one step at a time. You don't have to change everything overnight, but just beginning the process will make a huge difference and you'll start to see it straight away. So until next time, take care.